Last time, we left Noah and his family standing on a washed earth under a rainbow with a promise from God that the world would never be destroyed by flood again. But a question was left hanging in the air. If the flood wiped out every human being on earth except Noah and his family, how did we get from 8 people to the world full of nations and cultures and languages we know today? Genesis 10 answers that question. And before we dive in, let's talk about those 8 people. Because most people don't realize how specific the Bible is about who was on the ark. Noah, his wife, their 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their 3 wives. 8 people, that's it. Every human being alive on earth today, every nation, every ethnicity, every language group, every culture, traces back to these 8 people and these 3 sons. Genesis 10 is called the Table of Nations. It is essentially the family tree of the entire human race. Japheth's descendants spread northward and westward into what we now know as Europe and parts of Asia. His sons included Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. These names might sound strange to us today, but to the original readers of Genesis, these were the founding fathers of nations they knew and recognized. Ham's descendants spread southward into Africa and Canaan and the ancient Middle East. His sons included Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. Yes, Egypt in the Bible traces directly back to Ham's son, Egypt, whose Hebrew name is Mizraim, and Canaan, whose descendants would later become the Canaanites, the people occupying the land God would eventually promise to Abraham. We will come back to that. Shem's descendants spread into the ancient Near East, into what we now call the Arab world and beyond. His line is the most important for our story, because it is from Shem that the Hebrew people will eventually come. And from the Hebrew people, much, much later, will come the one the serpent's curse hinted at, the one who will crush the serpent's head. Shem's line is the thread the entire Bible is following. Now, one name in this chapter deserves special attention. From Ham's line comes a man named Nimrod. The Bible describes Nimrod as a mighty hunter before the Lord, a man of enormous power and influence. He established a kingdom that included cities like Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Babel. Remember that name. We will need it in the very next chapter. Nimrod also built Nineveh, which will become one of the most important cities in the entire Old Testament, many laps from now. So Genesis 10 is not just a list of names. It is a map of how 8 survivors became the entire human family, a map of where everyone came from. And underneath it, quietly, the thread of Shem's line is being drawn forward, towards something, towards someone. The story is narrowing. Genesis 11 opens with a detail that is easy to miss, but changes everything about what follows. The whole earth had one language and the same words. One language every person on earth could understand every other person on earth. Now, at this point in the story, we are still early in the world's history after the flood. Noah's descendants are multiplying just as God commanded. They are moving eastward and settling in a plain in the land of Shinar, the same Shinar where Nimrod built his kingdom. And they had a conversation. Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. Let's slow down here, because this is important. God told Noah and his sons to be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth, spread out, cover the ground. What are these people doing instead? They are gathering together, refusing to spread, building a city to make a name for themselves, reaching upward toward heaven, not to worship God, but to establish their own greatness. This is not just ambition. This is direct defiance of what God told them to do. And notice the phrase, "Let us make a name for ourselves." That phrase tells you everything about the heart behind the project. Not, "Let us honor God." Not, "Let us serve one another." Let us make a name for ourselves. The same pride that lived in Cain. The same pride that filled the pre-flood world. It survived the ark, just as we said last time. And now it is organizing itself, building infrastructure. God came down to see the city and the tower. And he said, "Behold, they are one people with one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them." Now, was God afraid of what they were building? Was he threatened? No, God cannot be threatened. But he saw something important. When people with one language and one purpose organize themselves around pride and defiance, the capacity for harm becomes limitless. History has proven this over and over. So God acted. "Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech." And just like that, the single shared language of all humanity fractured into many. Imagine waking up one morning and the person next to you is speaking sounds you cannot understand. The person on the other side, different sounds. No one understanding anyone. The project stopped immediately, because you cannot build a tower when no one can communicate. The people scattered, exactly as God had originally told them to, spread across the face of the earth. And the city was called Babel, because there God confused the language of all the earth. Babel, the same root as Babylon, one of the most important and symbolic cities in the entire Bible. A city whose name forever means confusion, pride reaching upward and coming down scattered. Now here is something remarkable. In Genesis 10, we already read about the nations being spread across the earth with different languages. And now in Genesis 11, we read about how that happened. Genesis is not always strictly chronological. Sometimes it tells you what happened, then goes back and tells you how. Genesis 10 is the what. Genesis 11 is the how. After the Tower of Babel, Genesis 11 returns to genealogy, this time tracing Shem's line specifically. Generation by generation, from Shem all the way down. And the last name on Shem's list is a man named Terah. Terah had 3 sons, Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Terah set out from Ur of the Chaldeans, a great and wealthy city in what is now modern Iraq, to travel to the land of Canaan, but he stopped partway and settled in a place called Haran. And there Terah died, at the age of 205 years. But his son Abram, that name will soon become the most important name in the entire Old Testament. Because Genesis 12 is where everything changes. If Genesis 3 is the hinge point of the problem, the moment everything broke, then Genesis 12 is the hinge point of the solution. Everything in the Bible from this point forward flows from what happens in this chapter. God spoke to a man named Abram. Now, who was Abram? At this point in the story, he was 75 years old. He was living in Haran with his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and everything they owned. His wife Sarai was barren. She had never been able to have children. That detail matters enormously. Remember it. And God said, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation. And I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." Let's break that down, because there is more in those lines than first appears. God told Abram to leave everything familiar, his country, his extended family, his father's house, the roots and safety nets of everything he had known, and go to a land God had not yet named. Not go to this specific place, just go and I will show you. That takes a particular kind of trust. Then God made him 5 specific promises. Let's count them. 1. I will make you a great nation. Remember, Abram has no children. His wife cannot have children, and God is promising him a nation. 2. I will bless you. 3. I will make your name great. Remember the Tower of Babel. Those people tried to make a name for themselves through pride and defiance. God told them to scatter. Here, God is giving a name freely to a man who simply obeyed. 4. You will be a blessing. 5. In you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. That last one, all the families of the earth. Not just Abram's family, not just one nation, all families, all people, everywhere. This is the promise that the rest of the entire Bible is unpacking. This is the seed of everything that is coming. The blessing that started in a garden was lost in a garden and is now being set in motion again through one obedient man. And Abram went, just like Noah. No arguments, no negotiations. So Abram went, as the Lord had told him. He took Sarai his wife, his nephew Lot, all their possessions, and all the people who had joined their household in Haran. And he left. They traveled to the land of Canaan, the same Canaan that traced back to Ham's cursed son, the land where the Canaanites lived. When Abram arrived, God appeared to him and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." Abram built an altar there, then moved on and built another altar, a man marking his journey with worship. But then, immediately after this enormous promise, the Bible gives us a moment of very human failure. There was a famine in the land, and Abram, instead of trusting God who had just spoken to him, went down to Egypt. And as he approached Egypt, he said to Sarai, "I know that you are a woman beautiful in appearance, and when the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but they will let you live. Say you are my sister, so that it may go well with me because of you." The man who just obeyed God with everything, asking his wife to lie to protect himself. And it worked, briefly. Sarai was taken into Pharaoh's household. Pharaoh treated Abram well because of her, giving him sheep, oxen, donkeys, servants, and camels. But God struck Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai. Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What have you done to me? Why did you not tell me she was your wife? Take her and go." And Abram left Egypt with everything Pharaoh had given him. Wealthier than when he arrived, but not exactly covered in glory. This is the Bible being honest about its heroes. The man God chose to bless all nations just lied about his wife to save his own skin. The promises of God do not depend on the perfection of the people he works through. That is one of the most important things Genesis teaches. Abram returned from Egypt to the Negev, the southern region of Canaan. and then moved back toward the place where he had first built an altar between Bethel and Ai. He was very rich now, not just because of what Pharaoh gave him, but because God had been blessing him throughout his journey. The Bible specifically says he was very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. Lot, who had been traveling with Abram, was also wealthy. He had flocks and herds and tents of his own. And a problem arose. The land could not support both of them living together. Their possessions were so great that there was not enough pasture for all their animals, and their herdsmen began quarreling with each other. Abram came to Lot and said, "Let there be no strife between you and me, and between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, for we are kinsmen. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself from me. If you take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if you take the right hand, then I will go to the left." Notice what Abram does here. He is the elder. He is the one God made the promises to. He had every right to choose first. He gave the choice to Lot. Lot looked up and saw the Jordan Valley, well watered everywhere, like the garden of God, like the land of Egypt, lush, rich, abundant. And Lot chose it. He took the best land for himself and moved his tents as far as Sodom. Now the Bible pauses here to give us a detail we need to remember. The men of Sodom were wicked, great sinners against the Lord. Lot saw beautiful land. He did not ask who his neighbors would be. After Lot left, God spoke to Abram again. "Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land that you see, I will give to you and to your offspring forever. I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth, so that if one can count the dust of the earth, your offspring also can be counted. Arise, walk through the length and the breadth of the land, for I will give it to you. As the dust of the earth, uncountable." Remember, Abram still has no children. His wife is still barren, and God is telling him his descendants will be uncountable. Abram moved his tent and settled by the oaks of Mamre at Hebron, and he built an altar to the Lord. Another altar. Abram marks every significant moment with worship. Genesis 14 introduces something we have not seen yet in the Bible. War. A coalition of 4 kings from the east went to war against 5 kings in the region of the Jordan Valley, including the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, why does this matter for our story? Because Lot was living in Sodom. The nephew who chose the best land for himself was now living in the middle of a war zone. The 4 eastern kings won the battle. They plundered Sodom and Gomorrah and took everything, food and gold, goods and people, including Lot and everything he had. Someone escaped and came to Abram with the news. And here is where we see something remarkable in Abram's character. Remember, Lot chose the best land. Lot left Abram with the less desirable territory. Abram had every reason to let Lot deal with the consequences of his own choices. Instead, Abram gathered 318 trained men born in his own household. 318 men he had personally trained. He pursued the 4 kings, attacked them at night, routed them, and recovered everything. All the goods, all the people, including Lot. On his way back, the king of Sodom came out to meet him. And then, one of the most mysterious figures in the entire Bible appears. Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of God Most High. Salem, which will later become Jerusalem. Melchizedek brought out bread and wine and blessed Abram. Blessed be Abram by God Most High, maker of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand." And Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth of everything. Now, who is Melchizedek? He appears here suddenly, with no genealogy, no backstory, no explanation of where he came from or where he goes. He is simply here, a king and a priest, blessing Abram in the name of God Most High. For a beginner, just mark this name. Melchizedek will reappear much later in the Bible in a way that will completely reframe this moment. He is one of the Bible's great mysteries and one of its greatest signposts. Then the king of Sodom offered Abram all the recovered goods, and Abram refused. "I have lifted my hand to the Lord, God Most High, maker of heaven and earth, that I would not take a thread or a sandal strap or anything that is yours, lest you should say, 'I have made Abram rich.'" The man who lied about his wife in Egypt, now refusing a king's wealth on principle. He would not let anyone other than God get credit for his prosperity. Growth is not always linear, even in the Bible's heroes. After everything in Genesis 14, the war, the rescue, the encounter with Melchizedek, God came to Abram in a vision. "Fear not, Abram. I am your shield. Your reward shall be very great." And Abram, for the first time, pushed back. "O Lord God, what will you give me? For I continue childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus. Behold, you have given me no offspring, and a member of my household will be my heir." Let's understand what Abram is saying. In the ancient world, if a man died without a son, his estate and name would pass to his most trusted servant. Abram is saying, "Lord, you keep promising me descendants, but I have no children. My servant is going to inherit everything. What exactly are you giving me?" This is not faithlessness. This is honest, real, human. And God did not rebuke him. God responded, "This man shall not be your heir. Your very own son shall be your heir." Then God took Abram outside. "Look toward heaven and number the stars, if you are able to number them. So shall your offspring be." And then, one of the most important lines in the entire book of Genesis, "And he believed the Lord, and he counted it to him as righteousness." Abram believed God. That is it. That is the whole sentence. He did not perform a ritual. He did not complete a checklist. He did not earn it. He believed, and God counted that belief as righteousness. This moment, right here, becomes one of the most quoted and most important moments in the entire Bible. The Apostle Paul will come back to this verse in the New Testament and build an entire theological argument on it. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. Then God told Abram something about the future that was both wonderful and sobering. "Know for certain that your offspring will be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and will be servants there. And they will be afflicted for 400 years. But I will bring judgment on the nation that they serve, and afterward they shall come out with great possessions." 400 years of slavery coming for Abram's descendants. But they will come out. God already knows the beginning and the end of the story. Then God made a covenant with Abram, and this covenant was unlike anything we have seen before. God told Abram to bring a heifer, a goat, a ram, a turtle dove, and a pigeon. Abram cut the larger animals in half and laid the halves opposite each other. Now, for a beginner, this sounds strange. But this was a known practice in the ancient world for making covenants. Both parties would walk between the cut animals, essentially saying, "May what happened to these animals happen to me if I break this covenant." But here is what happened instead. God caused a deep sleep to fall on Abram. And while Abram slept, a smoking fire pot and a flaming torch appeared and passed between the pieces. God alone passed through, not Abram. In a normal covenant, both parties walked through together, both bound by the agreement. But here, only God walked through. God alone took on the obligation. God alone bound himself to keep this promise, regardless of what Abram did or did not do. This is grace in its most ancient form. God said to Abram, "To your offspring I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates." The land was promised, the descendants were promised, the blessing to all nations was promised, and God bound himself to it alone. Abram did not earn this. He could not lose it. God staked himself on it. Everything that follows in the Bible, every promise, every rescue, every act of redemption flows from this moment. A sleeping man, a smoking pot, a flaming torch, and a God who walked through the pieces alone. See you on the next lap.